I'm a bad motherfucker.
Hey, come see us in Ashland, Virginia, and Athens, Georgia. And then we're going to be in Irvine and Ontario, California. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets. So let me do that again. Come see us in, is it Ashford? I want to say Asheville, too, but it's not. It's Ashland. Hey, come see us in Ashland, Virginia, Athens, Georgia, Irvine, California, and Ontario, California. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for those tickets. Okay. I'm here with Russell. And Russell went to this thing last weekend. This is why I have Russell on today, because Russell went to this thing called Dissonant Dialogues in partnership with Unheard. It's a festival of ideas. And if you Google it, it says Dissonant Dialogue, a place for dangerous ideas. Now, Russell, I want to show this video. This is of, they had some big shots there. Like Richard Dawkins was there, right? Now, tell me about that. I'm going to set this up for me. I'm going to show the video. Richard Dawkins was on a panel that you watched. And what was he saying on this panel? And what was the question you asked him?
Okay, so this panel was him debating Aryan Kursi Ali, who she's a Muslim woman who speaks out very much against Muslim theocracies, and she had become an atheist, hence her connection to Richard Dawkins, and now she claims to be a Christian. So the subject of this debate was to be, he was asserting she's not really a Christian, she's a political Christian. And he now describes himself as a cultural Christian, which seems to just be another term for Western imperialist. But he was arguing she's not a theological Christian. So that's what the debate was about. It was pretty dry. It was pretty tedious. But anytime this entire weekend that the subject of student protesters came up, there was nothing but derision, contempt, condescension for them. And this was no exception. She was arguing that in the absence of religion, Islam was gaining a foothold amongst these students. And she was essentially arguing that they're being indoctrinated as Islamists, and that's why they're protesting, which is as batshit crazy as it sounds. And then it was thrown to Dawkins, and he rejected that theory. And so the moderator, I think, asked him what he thought was behind it. He said, well, I should think anti-Semitism is the reason.
So he said Richard Dawkins, Mr. Atheist, said the only reason that people are protesting against a genocide and against their government's complicity in that genocide happening in Gaza, the only reason those college students, not only in Ivy League schools like Columbia, but also in blue-collar colleges like UC Riverside, and so all across the country, from Texas,
all anti-Semitism.
He's saying it's all anti-Semitism. And so you confronted him, and here's the question you asked him.
A quick question?
Yeah.
All right. You said you felt that the students protesting were driven by anti-Semitism?
Yes.
Do you feel it's possible they're driven by horror at the slaughter in Gaza?
Do what, sorry?
Do you think they're driven by horror at the slaughter in Gaza? Is it
what's this now?
What?
Huh? What? Who's that with?
Well, because remember, this is what you really see here. This was such a mutual circle jerk dick sucking contest at this supposed festival of ideas.
Dangerous ideas.
He never expected to get a real question. That's why you can hear me I identified myself as press. I had a big press pass around my neck. I said who I was with. And I politely asked if I could ask him a question. You can hear part of that at the beginning.
I heard you say, you mind if I ask you a question?
And he agreed to it, but he didn't think he was going to get a question.
Right. He thought he was going to get more dick sucking.
Exactly. He was just coming from the VIP lounge that they were having.
So
as a special VIP event at the end of the festival.
So
when I caught him.
he was getting his ball licked and tongue
Yes.
bath by all the
Yes.
people who paid extra money to go to the VIP lounge at this event,
You got it.
telling him
You
how
got
great and smart he is, and he thought you were going to be another one of those. And so I'll take
Yep.
it from the top. Let's watch.
Quick question.
Yeah.
All right, you said you felt that the students protesting were driven by anti-Semitism?
Yes.
Do
Yeah.
you feel it's possible they're driven by horror at the slaughter in Gaza?
Do what? Sorry.
Do you think they're driven by horror at the slaughter in Gaza? Is it necessarily anti-Semitism?
Of course they're not driven by the horror and the slaughtering. You mean?
Of the students protesting?
Well, are you recording this? I'm not. Put that away. I don't do recordings.
Okay.
So he knew you were recording the whole time. It wasn't until you
He did.
It wasn't until he realized, oh my God, I'm going to look like an asshole. You're recording. That's why I don't want to talk to you, because I don't do recordings.
But you can see him processing.
Yeah.
There's that moment. He realizes he got a real question.
Yes.
And he's thinking about answering it. And then he just freaks out. He just freaks out. He realizes there's no way to answer it where he doesn't get exposed as the fucking cretin he is. So he runs away like a rat.
And that is cretin activity. And here's why that's interesting. Because back in 2014, he tweeted this out. The extent of the extent of the destruction in Gaza is obscene. Poor people who have lost their homes, their relatives, everything. He tweeted that out in that's my birthday, July 26th, 2014. He tweeted that out. And now he's saying the only reason people have a problem with that is they're anti-Semites. So would he call himself an anti-Semite back in 2014? The answer is yes.
Yeah, that is, people sent that to me after the video dropped. That is really amazing. I know you're probably going to want to drop this clip back in East Berlin, so I don't know how deep you want to go. Some people claim they have compromise on him. A certain friend who used to have a jet who is no longer with us supposedly.
Oh,
had
so you think
something on him.
he got caught up in the Epstein thing? You think
some people, as our illustrious former president might say, some people are saying, some very smart people are saying that. That's what some people are saying, because Epstein cultivated all of these intellectuals and academics that he had shit on Dawkins, and that's why he flipped on Israel.
And we all know Epstein worked for the Mossad.
Right. It's possible. It's possible. Then again, to give you a less nefarious explanation, now having sat in this weekend of the so-called intellectual dark web, they're all like that. And it's mostly grifters. I think, they might believe half of what they say. Some of them might believe all of it, but they're definitely feeding a certain audience what they want to hear. So there could be some of that.
So you're saying that this dissonant dialogue, a place for dangerous ideas, actually wasn't a place for dangerous ideas. It was a place for groupthink and people afraid to actually go against the establishment narrative.
This festival could have been organized by Anthony Blinken. It had absolutely nothing to say about international geopolitics, foreign policy. That could not have come off a State Department press release, right down to having a display about the Uyghurs. Now, okay, you want to have a display about Uyghurs and the fact that China's using slave labor, or the assertion that China's using slave labor and there are food products we use that are a result of that. Okay, all right, fine. First of all, you're not in China. You can only speculate on that. But okay, fine. I'll concede you having that display. And they're talking about the western province of China. As I've reported on our show, we have a province here called Louisiana, where you literally have mostly black prisoners working on former plantations, and their labor gets into the supply chain of everything from Target to McDonald's to Cargill, all of these products. You almost can't avoid prison labor in our products. but it was all very oriented around this very State Department vision. Absolutely nothing critical to say about U.S. foreign policy. We're surrounded by enemies. The Chinese are barbarians. The Iranians are dangerous theocrats. We're the good guys. It was just, I mean, it was incredible to see something build dissident dialogues. You know, Ukraine, Russia. I mean, just absolute, just nothing but State Department on that, except for the one panel they did specifically about Gaza, where they got Brianna Joy Gray on, and somebody else I've never heard of. Originally, it was supposed to be Nathan Robinson. There was some kind of problem, so they brought in a ringer at the last minute.
The problem is that Nathan Robinson, he got a gig. He's now hires himself out to go at parties to cower in a corner and and repeat and to union bust. So maybe he got called in to go union bust somewhere because Nathan Robinson's a big union buster. And
is he?
Oh yeah, big union. But he busted the union at his own magazine. You don't know? You didn't get? You missed that story?
No. Yeah. I didn't see that.
Yeah. He fired them all. As soon as they wanted to join a union, he fired them all. Yeah,
this in a lot of ways, it felt like one of our viewers put it this way, and it was very right. It was like a conference on ideas from 2018. They're all running around in a very dire pre-World War III, or some might say World War III has already started kind of a world, wanting to scream about how terrible it is that their university wanted them to use pronouns. Now, as anyone who's watched my show or even my stints on your show knows, I'm not a fan of that ideology. But if you're going to talk about that, about how your speech was suppressed at a university or as a professor, and at the same time, not only are you not going to support these student protesters, not only are you not going to be speaking out about a bill that just passed the House that would essentially criminalize criticism of Israel on college campuses. If you're not going to speak out about that, you know what? I'm sorry. I really don't give a shit about the fact that they drove you out of the university, because you're a hypocrite and you're proving every enemy of people who have been speaking out against quote unquote wokeness has said that you don't really care about civil liberties. You don't really care about free speech. You just care about your speech and your liberties. You really don't care about speech that you don't like, and you've proven them all right. And that makes it very hard for honest actors like me to argue that that's not what it's about, because that is what pretty much everyone at that festival was about.
So now you interviewed the guy. This is the guy who actually organized it.
One of the two. The other one is Winston Marshall, who's from the
book 1984.
That's Smith. Yeah, and hey, look, you know, I want to be fair. I asked both of the organizers about this. I did ask them, hey, why isn't a kind of anti-woke left represented? And they both recognized that as a fault of the festival. They both said they're doing it again. They're going to do it a second year, and they want to correct that. Also, the Winston actually said, we don't have that video, but Winston actually said they had a hard time getting people on the left. Now, what he means by on the left probably isn't what we mean.
No.
Because I know Max, I know Aaron, I know Norman would not be like, oh, look at this guest list. I'm not going to this place. There's no way. Norman would definitely fucking do it. He would relish doing it.
You mean Norman Finkelstein, Max Blumenthal, Aaron Mate, all the people.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So here you have a let's play this little conversation you had with them.
Okay, so we have here the organizer himself of the Dissident Dialogues. Can you tell people who you are and a little bit about you?
All right, my name is Dore Miller. I am the co-founder of Dissident Dialogues along with Winston Marshall.
Okay, and so you called it Dissident Dialogues. What is it dissident against?
Well, don't read too much into the name. If you were to really look at it, today we had one true dissident, Marcy, but ultimately we're trying to create a platform here for ideas. You know, it's a place for dangerous ideas.
Okay.
Not
So I
dissonant
felt
ideas.
like the kind of, silent but deadly hanging over the entire event was we are right in the middle of a crackdown on student protests, the likes of which we have not seen since the Vietnam era. Are those students dissidents?
I believe they believe that, and you can, by going against what you believe as oppression, unjust wars, I think they truly believe that. I think it's there can be debates and platforms like Dissident Dialogue to really look into whether it is truly a dissident act. But I wouldn't judge them for that. But I think most of them, when you see their passion, they truly believe that they are fighting the good, just fight, and they are being dissident. Now, whether they're dissidents, in my opinion, it doesn't really matter. I don't think.
Okay, now I'm going to give you a sticky one. Now, there is kind of a war that has erupted among civil libertarians about this, particularly on the right. You have Matt Walsh fighting with Greg Abbott. You have Candace Owens fighting with her former employer, Ben Shapiro. You have John Knowles also coming out and getting into conflict with them. Do you come down on any particular side, which seems to roughly be people who are saying, hey, if we believe in speech, this is speech, we can't be hypocrites, and people are saying, no, this isn't what we meant by speech?
Yeah, free speech absolutism is a sticky subject, right? And I want to make this very clear. I'm not a public intellectual. I help public intellectuals and people with smart ideas to get their voices heard far and wide. So I don't really pick a side with regards to any of the names you've mentioned. I've read.
I like that whole, what he says is that free speech absolutism. They put absolutism. Mm-hmm. It's just free speech.
Right.
You don't have to put absolutism. It's free speech. And he says it's sticky. You know why it's sticky? Because some people aren't for free speech. That's why. It's only sticky to people who want to censor other people's speech. It's not sticky for people who are for free speech.
If you look at his answers there, they were very much the answers of, and this is what I'm not going to hold against him. This is a businessman who wants to be able to organize these festivals without offending anybody. So he was very careful not to commit to anything. He didn't condemn the students. He didn't condone the students. I believe they believe that. It's not for me to say, which, okay, listen, given that he's not going up there and presenting himself as a public intellectual with an opinion, but as an organizer of a festival, I'll accept that. After the camera's off, I told him I'm going to send you a list. And we'll
let
see
me
if
play
he
the
follows
rest.
through. Okay,
let me play
ahead.
the rest of it.
Stuff, and I tend to ground my decisions on reason, rationality, and compassion. And if somebody's making an argument that fits in that category, chances are I'll be there.
Okay, now you're planning on doing this again,
Absolutely,
right?
Absolutely. If you saw what happened, people seem to be very happy, incredible reception. We're definitely doing it next year.
All right, so now you say you're not really an intellectual in this space. This isn't really what you do. All right, so our channel is called Do Dissidents, so we were almost destined to be here. Now, the way I always describe us is the anti-woke left. Now, to watch this event, you would get the impression that there's nobody who thinks what's happening in genocide is what's happening in Gaza is genocide, who also thinks men don't belong in women's swimming. But we're out there. Jimmy Dore very much fits that category. We're in Norman Finkelstein's town today. His last book was all about Ibram X. Kendi and ripping apart that whole, and very effectively ripping it apart. Do you feel it's an oversight not to have people like this at Dissident Dialogues? And would you invite them next year?
Oh, look, I have a history of putting on events like this. I always invite people from all walks of life. And you saw, we had Brianna Joy Gray. yesterday, and you know
You
that
did,
was
yeah.
very contentious debate. I will always invite people that I fundamentally disagree with. That's the whole point. The challenge is, though, is presenting a reason for them to come, because a lot of them see this as, well, what am I getting out of it? I'm in this camp, and everything I'm saying is validated. Why would I go here? That's why I have a lot of respect for Brianna for coming yesterday and having that debate, being very lively. And I will continue to invite. So this year we had 2 days, little about 16 hours, over 35 speakers. There's only so many we can cram in.
Right.
So next year, hopefully more days. We'll see. Time will tell.
Okay, Dash, thank you very much.
So, yeah, I mean, I could give you a reason that I would go. 10K plus travel.
Well, hey, I don't know what the numbers were. I don't want to, reveal anything that was spoken off record, but they had to pay Bree well to do this. Let's put it that way. I don't know the number, but they had to up their initial offer. I'll say that much. I don't know what the number is, but they could not get her for what they initially offered. So hey, that number I'm sure would not be a problem. You're probably lowballing yourself, actually. And look, he went on the record saying that he wants more voices like that next year.
So that's good.
After the camera was off, we had a conversation. I have his email. I'm supposed to send him a list of people I would suggest who are more legitimately left. And hey, benefit of the doubt. Okay. These guys, him and Winston, I get the impression they're probably more oriented in the intellectual dark web space. I don't even know how aware. I mean, they both knew who you were, but do they really look at people on the left? And when he's saying it's hard to get people, okay, my money
he didn't
would
try.
be on.
He didn't try
Well,
to get me. He didn't
who did
try
they
to get
try to
Max.
get?
He didn't
They
try to.
probably. But when he says left, he probably means they tried to get Crystal Ball.
Yes.
He probably means
Yes.
they tried to get Cenk Uygur.
Yes.
That's what he means when he says they tried to get people on
Yes.
the left.
People who vote
then
Democrat.
didn't want to get savaged by
Right.
that kind of a crowd.
He means people like not Matt Taibbi, not Aaron Mate, not Max, not you, not me, but people who vote Democrat.
Well, and this is another point, because they had Michael Schellenberger. Now, yes, Michael Schellenberger has covered transgender issues, particularly with the WPATH files, and I've covered that on my own show, and I do think that work is valuable. But Michael Schellenberger is also one of the main people exposing worldwide government censorship as an intelligence services op. So why didn't you have him do a panel on that? Why did you only have him do a panel on something that feeds into this anti-woke intellectual dark web shit? Why didn't you? Because they had him do two things. He did his kind of what I assume is his standard speech slideshow that he does when he goes around and does conferences. And then he led a panel on the WPATH thing. Well, if you got Michael Schellenberger, why don't you have him lead a panel about the Scottish hate crimes bill? Why don't you have him do a panel? He's wanted in Brazil right now. Why would you not have him do something about the fact that he's a wanted man in Brazil? Why don't you invite Glenn Greenwald? You know, these are not like obscure figures, and you can't say you're not aware of Schellenberger's work. You fucking invited him. So why did you only ask him about what would play to this very narrow audience? That's what I'm saying. And that's what I said, I think, in the interview with the other guy. I'm somebody who agrees with most of the anti-woke stuff. But to have an entire conference where you're just talking about that with the fucking world on fire, and anything you have to say about international geopolitics is just State Department talking points that I could hear on a CNN roundtable, that it just seems so out of touch, out of tune, and out of time. But again, you saw the interview. He didn't choke or get defensive when I said you didn't invite these people. So let's see. It is the first year, and I did bring it to their attention, and I am going to send them an email. So we'll see what happens next year.
Okay. Well, it was great work. I was following your Twitter feed and your reports on it, and so it was fun for me. Thanks for going there. Thanks for doing it, and thanks for coming on today, Russell. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jimmy.
Everybody check out the Do Dissidents boys over at Do Dissidents, YouTube, Rumble, and Substack. All right, that's it for me today. I'm going to throw it over to Steph.
Do you have a read or anything? Does he have to do
I
anything?
have a read or anything? Okay, I'll see you, Russ. Thank you, buddy.
All right. Thank you.
amigo.
Thank you, amiga.
He knows Spanish.
He does.
He learned Spanish during COVID.
Do I have a thing?
I didn't.
No?
Okay, so you're done, Jimmy. All right. All right. So, and I just heard the great news. We're sold out in Denver.
Yes.
Woo woo, girls. That's nice. All right.
Yes.
All right, so I'm going to wrap this up, and we'll be back on Monday, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back on Monday. Here we go. I've gone through 2 TVs and a box of bandages watching the Cuomo segment, A Perfect Dismantling of a Cuck, and that is Ace Cards. 40-year-old health worker forced to take a jab and now has terminal heart disease. I'm so mad and have nowhere to put this anger. I want to make my life mean something, but I feel powerless to help. CC Calloway. Sorry to hear that. I would bet at least half of my savings at AstraZeneca story won't be reported on MSNBC contract. Mild cuck Simshi faking points, the gay Amish fellow, Mr. Pac-Man, horse boy, or the shill. You got that right, JG Magoop. Viaticus Prime, if people are afraid of anti-Semites, they could just stop speaking Semitic language. The answer is in the definition. There, I just solved a global problem. Yay me. Viaticus. I don't see Aboriginal Australian Muslim athletes saying, if Allah will be willingly, I want to help my Rohingya Muslim brothers. I don't recall 24/7 news of Darfur concerning Fur and Zagwa people. MQ, thank you. I've gone through 2 TVs. I read that one as AZ cards. All right. And this madness is all over a deadly virus, which was custom designed and developed at the insistence of Dr. Fauci and the government of the United States of America. Wild Rue poster. Thanks for your patriotism. Save America. DJT on Ethereum has already donated over $250,000 to President Trump. Deaf Phoenix. Nothing treats COVID other than vaccine. Certificate of vaccination identification. There was no COVID. I have the FDA and CDC paperwork. There was no virus. It was computer only. Plasma stream. So the WHO equals USA, the UK, Bill Gates in Germany, and repubs want to tell us China's behind it? Okay, projection much? It's all empire ever does. Too lazy to work, so they get slaves and immigrants to do it. Hemp car. Sure, Steph, I'll talk politics with you. I've got free time, Vianticus. Yes, thank you, Vianticus. Please have Sam Bailey on. She's been COVID censored since 2020. She'll give you a fascinating perspective on diseases in general that help you take control of your health. Thank you for that one, Razzie here. Hey, Jimmy, have you heard of Marshall McLuhan? He's a philosopher who talks about how much tech shapes how we think, and that we're in a paradigm shift from a print-based society to a digital one. Oh, Kikatwas, thank you. Hey, Kikatwas, you have some good recommendations. If ever you can give us a link to those recommendations, that's also expedites us contacting them. Thank you. Vianticus, no one asks questions until it's too late. Then they'll all ask the same question. Why? Vianticus. MQ, where's the video of Ajana Weed militia members digging through Masalit ladies' clothing? I don't see comic strip with Tatsuya Ishida on Twitter or Xi Jinping in a tube of blood concerning Uyghurs. MQ, Blissend, how does one participate in premium streamium? I already contribute to locals and on the video tier in the site. Well, that's kind of where you want to go. So if you're at locals, that's one area, and then premium, you go to the Jimmy Dore show if that's what you'd like. JimmyDore.com. I was counterdicted right now. JimmyDore.com. So I hope that answers your question, Blissend. Cuomo had a giant Q-tip. Did Jimmy do that? No. Colorado, watch. I heard that people tend to get more knowledgeable while they're clicking on Jimmy Dore streams. I think we need more testing. Click away, girls. Vienticus. A real cool guest would be philosopher Zach Stein. He talks a lot about propaganda, education, AI, and spirituality. Again, Kate Kotwa's great recommendation. If you ever think to connect a link to your super chat, that would be really helpful. Please have Dr. Sam Bailey on. Thank you for that one. I'm keeping that on my list. FYI, Razzie. That name guy, nice to watch the show from Europe and not have it to be middle of the night. That name guy, no, it was pretty nice today, right? People were murdered in hospitals with midazolam and morphine in the UK and morphine and benzoremdesivir in the US. Notice nobody died at home. There was no virus. It was all about injecting SV40 cancer plasma stream. All right, let me make sure I got to as many as I could today. Hold on, let's see what we got. We try to get to them all, and sometimes we don't. And that's how it rolls, girls. That's how it rolls. All right. Epstein was a major player in the vaccine push. His job was to get leaders compromised so they could get the job in the Goyim. Jamie Steph, check out YouTube love letters to Richard Dawkins. And I saw what you were all saying about Richard Dawkins, that he had some kind of weird comments about pedophilia, and also mentioned it in his memoir. Freedom of speech is important for liberals. How else are they going to tell you that you deserve no rights? Radfolk, thank you. What's this one? They gave a cold and name and stopped the world. Sparky. The most mind-blowing expertise and insight on the COVID and financial control, David Webb's The Great Taking, Dr. Michael Yeadon's Substack COVID Statement, and patent lawyer David E. Martin. All right, thank you for that, Leaping Leopard. And I will make sure to share those with Jimmy, okay, on our next meeting. All right, let me see down here. Let's see what we got here. Got that Kinky 2, got that Plasma, Vienticus. Got that. Dr. Ibycat, check out Dr. McCullough's spike protein Dixtal protocol, bromelain 500 milligrams once a day, Natokinase 2000 FU twice a day, curcumin 500 milligrams twice a day, 3 to 12 months. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I believe Ibycat, that might be my last one. Yes, I read that one. Okay, thank you, Bonzo Beans. Okay, got that one. All right. Well, if my dad was allowed to take ivermectin, he'd still be with us today. If you can bring my father back and all the people that listen to you, Chris Cuomo, maybe I can watch you again. Skipatsky. Sorry to hear that. All right, I got that one. All right, got that one. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for today. And go ahead and tune in on Monday. We'll be back at our regular time. We're taking off on Friday because we will be in Canada and then Denver and then back home. Yippee. All right, just in time for Mother's Day. Good call. All right. Oh, Bonzo Beans, Cuomo is afraido. That is hilarious-o. I like that one. I haven't been able to confirm this, but there's studies that suggest ivermectin helps bifidobacteria, all short eyes. Bifidobacteria seems to be the essential for your body's ability to fight disease. Vienticus Prime. Thank you so much. All right. Those were the ones that I was able to get to, ladies and gentlemen. Go ahead and do something nice for somebody. Adios.
rabbi hole, tunnels and all. There's Jews in the walls. Isn't it bliss? The rabbinical grace soiling the mattresses. Well, let me tell you. If I were Rabbi Shmuley and diddle 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 digga digga diddle diddle dum, all day long I'd diddle little bums. If I were a Shmuley man, I'd peddle all my dildos, dreidel dildos, selling dildos with my daughter and her mum. If I were a Jewish Shmuley man, I'd be digging with a dildo in my bum. I'd wear a grotesque nose and go grab some goyim right on the nipple with a pinch. A Shabbos lap dance brace for the youngest mensch.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you hate shitty coffee? I, for one, really hate shitty coffee, which is why I'm excited to introduce to you a company that's revolting against shitty coffee, and it's called the 1775 Coffee Company. Now, I haven't had it yet because I only drink decaf. Steph has had it. Steph, how do you like it?
I really like it. I've been, you know what? I have a French press, and so I've been using my French press and totally enjoying it. It's delicious. It's smooth. It's smooth.
So 1775, the world awake. In 1775, the world awakened to a new era. And now it's 1775 Coffee Company is bringing you a coffee that embodies that revolutionary spirit. Crafted with passion and precision, our beans are ethically and exclusively sourced from the finest coffee beans farms of Bolivia. Didn't know that. 1775 Coffee Company's farm-to-cup journey ensures the highest quality of authenticity and sustainability from start to finish. With each sip, your palate will recognize and appreciate the dedication and passion that goes into crafting this single-sourced brew. 1775 Coffee Company takes pride in offering customers a truly exceptional coffee experience with their premium coffee collection. But their dedication to this revolution extends beyond the realm of taste. Safeguarding freedom of speech is critical right now, which is why 1775 Coffee Company has joined forces with Rumble in defense of one of our most fundamental rights, freedom of speech. Coffee that's sure to awaken all your senses, including the sense of freedom. So choose 1775 Coffee by going to 1775coffee.com/litter. That's LITTER, and use the code LITTER for 10% off the checkout on your first order. 1775 Coffee, brewed to perfection, crafted with revolution.